dinosaurs. You like dinosaurs? Dinosaurs are cool. I think so, and Beef Cultist thinks so too, because they made this pet mod, which is Paleomons, and I'm playing it in Paleomons Premier League, and I'm showing you my season. And you may notice that most of the Mons don't have sprites, and this is a pretty terrible spectator experience that I'm going to try and mitigate for you as best as possible. So I'm just going to be showing you my games and giving you some thoughts on this tier, this micro-meta, as they call it, as we go. And I'm first just going to give you a quick little who's who of some of the most prominent and common Mons in the tier. I can't be asked to show you all 46, but just some of the sort of immediately really relevant ones that you're going to see loads of. So I have this little builder here of some of the main lads. So first up we have Landerostherian. It's a ground type with Intimidate and U-turn and Toxic and Rocks. It is just land OT. It can also knock and rapid spin, or if you really want, it can be like Swords Dance, Tough Claws, but it's not really very good, it needs too many turns. But it is effectively the reincarnation of Gen 8 land OT. Quite a fat guy, especially with Intimidate, but no recovery, even 80 Spadef, just like the Gen 8 GOAT himself. That's Armaldo. We're going to be seeing a lot of this lad. Next up, we have Bastiodon, who is one of the biggest glow-ups of this pet mod. He's gone from completely irrelevant to a fairy typing, an absolutely obscene bulk, which, I mean, it had that anyway, but now it has the Spatak as well to do something with it. And then the other kind of important thing that it's got is Petroglyph, which is essentially a rock-type torch song, so it raises your Spatak when you use it. And then it also can be Solid Rock or Magic Bounce, obviously both of which are brilliant abilities. Next up is Kabutops, who is the recipient of 2 different nerfs over the course of this tour. It had more Spatak and it had Earth Power. It got both of those taken away, and its signature Bloodstream got weakened, which is a poison type move that drains health. But the main thing really is Regenerator on a water poison typing, right? It's Pex, but with offensive presence. You can be sort of all-out attacking like this, or what saw a lot of use was Assault Vest with like knock, flip turn, rapid spin, all of that kind of jazz. Very versatile, very good Mon. Offensively, you'd often see these teams where your own Kabutops is the only real answer to the opposing Kabutops. Then you can knock each other's Assault Vests off, all that jazz. Very splashable, very strong Mon. Next up we have Caracosta, who is essentially like regular Caracosta, but Dark Poison and Spadef now. Loads and loads of Spadef. And it has Trash Compactor, which is cool. Like, it can spin, but it can also just sit in with hazards off the field and get loads of healing, and it can curse up and be unkillable because it's already got amazing Spadef. Then it just raises its defense, and it's never dying. Another really nice Mon, really good ability too, but we'll get to that a bit later, foreshadowing. And then lastly we have Threat, who, if this was an Agadmata video, this would be the hoodie guy, but I'm not that good at editing in. But Alta Combat is effectively Horlucha. It is really fast, it's got an amazing speed tier, is the main important thing. It's got pretty good bulk for this offensive of a Mon, and Scrappy, CC, and Acrobatics or Dual Wing Beat just kind of owns everybody. We see a few different ways over the tour that people sort of try to offload the item so that they can Acrobatics, or you can be like Boot boots, or what was the other one? Boots or like bandage or wing beat, if you really want. Those are the kind of, I'd call them probably the best 5 mons in the tier, and the rest of the kind of supporting cast of characters we'll just explain as we go. So this is my week 1 game against Beef Cultist, who is the sort of owner, creator of the pet mod. Oh yeah, I should have explained from the beginning, probably. I don't think I did. It has some fake mons, it has some ancient forms of existing Pokemon with new typing ability stats and what have you. That's the gist. It's funny dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures, the mod. And so you probably can't really glean very much about either of our teams because you can't see anything. So we'll just quickly run you through them. So we've got Armaldo Kabutops, no surprises there on Beef's side. Skeledirge is one of the ones that changed the least. It's still Skeledirge, but it's a fire dragon now. That's kind of it. Venuplura is a poison electric, kind of fast, pivoty guy. It resists both of Alter Combat stabs, which is a really big point in its favour. Lapras is kind of just Lapras, but it's water dark and slower and fat. Alter Combat we talked about. So on Beef's side, it's just a kind of pivoty balance with good mons. And what they were saying afterwards was that in this week 1 game, they know that I've never played it before. They expect that they're going to have considerably better just knowledge of the meta than me. So their team, they said, is just using a load of known good mons and just not sort of taking any big risks, just be solid and sensible and trust in having a better team than mine. Now I kind of went the other way, which is, my first thought was to stall, but I couldn't really figure out how to make a good stall. In tests, my stall just kind of got owned, it was useless. And so the day before I went, okay, this clearly isn't working, we gotta turn around, let's just bullshit them. And that's why I have Gorgeist, who, the different Gorgeist sizes do different things. Whichever Gorgeist size this is, it sets grassy terrain. And when grassy terrain is up, Bastiodon can get a defense boost to also calm mind up and just be unkillable. Ikaruf, who is new Screamtail, also gets a defense boost and calm mind and boom bursts, is the cool thing that that has. Then Alter Combat, I get the defense boost and I can just throw out acrobatics. Archeops is my rocks lead, and then Sigilif, who is now Psychic Ground. That was just the only thing I could find with stored power, so I get my grassy terrain, I start calm minding up, I throw out a big stored power, I go from there. And so we're finally getting into it, as I probably bring it off hyper fast. I lead with my Dagger Dragger, and I'm just trying to deny their rocks and get mine. But they just knock, which is to pop my first flight, which is Levitate, but when I get hit, it drops. And so I deny them the rocks, but I just get my own rocks and die, and then I go into Ikaruf to threaten the Boom Burst or the Soul Wind, as its flying type attack, sharing a name with a very famous player. But I know I can just calm mind here, as they go Lapras, which is trying to force me out with a Perish Song, but I can just Boom Burst a bit more in the meantime. So they go into their Dirge, not wanting to throw out their Lapras for no reason, makes sense. And Bastiodon, I'm pretty sure a Dirge cannot touch in any way, and because I know that they can't touch me in any way, I just take the opportunity to double and get my grassy terrain up. And so now I can start going into any of my threats, and I go back into this guy, but this time I've got my defense. And so they go Venuplura, and as I mentioned in the last video, it's really hard to calc anything in this tier because just none of the mons are in the damage calc. So you have to manually input literally everything, and it takes ages and your timer will just run out instantly. So because I can't really calc, I kind of go, I've got a defense boost, I probably live, hit. And hit I do. And live I do even more comfortably than I thought I would, which is cool. And this is really nice damage on the Venipleura because now my guy, my Alter Combat is a lot closer to just being able to win when Venipleura is the main thing that sponges it. And now I'm getting damage on the Dirge, which is really nice because just it's unaware, and so that is obviously going to really frustrate all of my setup guys. And I dodge a Wisp, which is really nice because that just gives me the opportunity to encore them into this and keep them low. And what I could have done, because they're kind of forced to slack after the dodge, I could have Boom Bursted again, they slack off, then I encore them into slack, and that way I won't be burnt and I'm going to get to Boom Burst something else as they switch out. But I just thought I really want to keep this Skeledirge low. Damage on this is going to be super important for other win cons, so I think I'm willing to let myself get burnt in order to guarantee that the Dirge is low. So I do that, and I at least still get to Boom Burst more things because they've switched out, and so they just give up their Venipleura because I don't really have switch-ins at this point. Back into their Dirge, Boom Burst again, they slack, and I call them calling my Encore here, so I just throw out another Boom Burst, and I get that right, which lets me just kill the Lapras, and I'm in a really nice position now. They go back to their Dirge, but in doing so, they stay low, which is lovely for me. Bastiodon back in, throw out a Petroglyph, get damage on this, which, like, sure, isn't too important at this point. And they just kind of whiff an Earthquake because they don't want to... Partly because they can't really just let me sit in, and partly because they don't want to just have their rocks bounce off my Magic Bounce if I stay in. But I'm thinking still at this point, if I get Bastiodon back in with the defense boost and with Grassy Terrain killing the Earthquake, and I can just abuse this later. But I just put damage on this for now. Throw out a Wood Hammer, and this is all kind of whatever. And here, it does seem a bit kind of slow and awkward to Wood Hammer into this Dirge, letting it heal up, because it's still fairly comfortably out of play rough range. But I reveal the Explosion technology, and I only put that on so that I could just get into one of my threats without having to let them take damage. Like, I'm not going to act like this was some kind of savant, I know the Dirge is coming, this is what I'm going to do. But it works out really nicely there that I don't even have to predict on the Armaldo, because I knew nothing about Beef as a player beforehand, and so when you don't know how someone plays, it is quite difficult to make those kind of calls. But I'm completely safe just Wood Hammering again, because I know I can just kill it with Boom afterwards, which is lovely. And at this point, they're down to... Their Armaldo is basically dead, because everything outspeeds and kills it. So they're just Kabutops and Alter Combat left, while I've got 3 grassy threats. And I just go into my Alter Combat because with my defense boost, and my reasonable HP and Spadef, I'm fairly happy that I can just live a hit off of anything. And I can just start trying to trade down so that my next guy can maybe win. But I win the speed tie, which is really nice. Dodge the Hydro Pump, which is also lovely. Though I did only really need one of those things. Although, if I'd lost the speed tie, then the Kabutops wouldn't have been forced to go for the stronger, inaccurate move. But yeah, they miss the Hydro Pump, that's all they can really do. They try and get the Regenerator on the Kabutops, but it's not going to be enough. And so I end up just taking that, though the ending is a bit jammy, and Beef told me afterwards they were actually Choice Banded, so they would have been able to kill me. But if they were then locked into the flying move, I could just go Bastiodon, get my defense raised, get a Calm Mind, and then I'm just killing the rest of everybody anyway. And I have the full Sigilif in the back. So I think that luck only really made it a more comfortable win when it would have still been a win, but now I'm just tripping over words. So we can get on to the next one, where in this game against Spam and Noob, I don't feel like I want to... Grassy terrain feels really good, but I don't feel like I want to use that twice, because they're probably teching and prepping for it. But the problem is that last week I haven't really figured out how to build a team, because I just gave up on making stall and then used bullshit. So what are we going for instead? This time I just made loads of pivots plus threat, the most brainless way to play the game. So I've got a sort of Assault Vest Kabutops as a glue. I've got Heliolisk Ancient, who is Electric Fire, has Fire Lash, and has Galvanize, Quick Attack, and Double Edge. Unfortunately, it sucks. It doesn't kill anything. Electric's not that good an offensive type. It has 0 defensive contribution. It's weirdly not that good of a speed tier for Paleomons. It's just not good. But one electric type Shitmon was actually not enough for our hero, because I decided to bring Meganium Sonic, who I can just go into the builder and show you. This guy, they tried to give Meganium a glow up, and I really like Meganium, but it's just not enough. I want it to be good. I'd really like if it was good, but it's just not. And its problem is that it doesn't match well into a bunch of the key things. Like, Caracosta abuses it, Armaldo abuses it, Kabutops abuses it. It's just really awkward. Like, it's better, but better than terrible is still quite bad. And then the final thing that I bring that's kind of funny is Banded Aerodactyl, who is now a flying ghost with Poltergeist, because I'm just like, well, it's Banded Poltergeist, how can it be bad? And then Spammer has similarly a bunch of pivot guys, a Swishavish, who is a water flying guy that has Vicious Rend, but Vicious is nerfed, so it only does 1.5 times strength. Then it has Aerial 8, strong flying moves, and then the same Venuplura as last time. So Spammer's got a bit more solid and real of a defensive core. His things have defensive utility that mine don't. Throw out an Earth Power turn 1, let him know, it does nothing. And here, Spammer makes a double. They double into their Swishavish, which enormously threatens my team, because just I only really defensively have Armaldo and Kabutops, and then Meganium with no recovery. So it just kind of cooks everybody. And so, on my Armaldo, he just goes into this sort of get early momentum and start making things happen. And he just dies to my Volt. Now, that may seem like it's utterly nonsensical, but more light will be shed on it later. So it's a big advantage to me. As the Caracosta comes out, I flip on it. I think this Kabutops wasn't knock, it should have been, but I have to give up the lefties on my Armaldo, which is kind of tough into the Venuplura and Archeops later. But for now, I can U-turn, I go into my this, and I think they probably don't want to get burnt. I mean, I should have just Poltergeisted, because what are they even going to do? My Wing Beat bounces off what is clearly a very bulky Venuplura, so I kind of just waste my initial momentum there. I didn't want to go Kabutops, because then it was still, like, I'd have to kind of call out the flip. I don't really know. I couldn't go Heliolisk because the Fire Lash does, like, half. It's really depressing. So I suppose there wasn't really a free thing to punish the momentum, but whatever the case, I get it wrong. And I can see the spike. And I get U-turned on, which is fine, I guess. But I decided to try again. Going arrow didn't work. Let's try going Kabutops. Flip. Again. And now we go into big threat. Except it's not really that big a threat. And then, because we have a horrible speed tier, we get strength sap, so we can't even fire lash it down. We just got a U-turn into the Armaldo and get our spin, and you can see how I'm just on the back foot the whole time. And so I tried to make something happen again, and this time I just poltergeist and crit and heal their Venaflora, which is cool. So I am 6-4 up, but I've also conceded rocks, my Armaldo's been knocked. Defensively, I'm kind of increasingly falling apart because there is just not enough defensive backbone on this team. So it's not really as advantageous as it looks. And we can see that as I really do not switch into this guy. So I can force it out with my own Archeops, and I probably could have even gone into it and saved the Armaldo sack there. But at this point, I'm still thinking maybe win with Aero. And the problem with that is that to be able to spam my moves, I need the Armaldo dead and not just recovering so comfortably. So I try and trick that away, but this is going to leave me even more vulnerable to their Scarf Archeops. There's a Life Orb Kabutops. It still was allowed Earth Power at this point, though it later got taken away. Back into this, and I don't know why I didn't Flying move. Yes, I do, because it wouldn't have killed. It's a shame I didn't have Earthquake on this. You'll see what I had instead later, but yeah, just they get me on that turn, and I do not enough to their Armaldo. But I at least can just Poltergeist again, and now Poltergeist is kind of properly free. But I still don't switch into this, so I try and just give up this guy. And so you know how we were saying earlier, very ambitious double that resulted in the loss of their Swishabish? I didn't know it had that. I'm stupid. So yeah, that kind of puts me in a bit of a situation. And the bit of a situation becomes a lot of a situation as the Caracosta starts to curse up. And I am lefty, so I can kind of try and fish for crits here as something that I have available to me. So I just do that for a bit, but the crits aren't coming. And so I decide, okay, I think I have to just throw out this guy, because Meganium, I'm sorry Meganium, it's just not happening. And so I go into Aerodactyl, and what I then do is I run down my timer to try and make it look like I just don't have anything and it's GG. After a minute of running down my timer, I Destiny Bombed. If he trash compacted there, then I was cooked. But I get away with it. I take down the Caracosta, and now I've got my 3 lads against 3 lads on Spammer's side, but the problem is that I just really don't switch into Archeops at all, and so I try and get some regen on my Kabutops. And it also does give me this line of ward off the Archeops for now by trying to draw out the Stone Edge that I can go into that Archeops resists. And I put a load of damage on the Kabutops here, and here I definitely should have just gone back into my own Kabutops, or even just thrown out the useless Heliolisk. But I Stone Edge, and I low roll, and I die. So that sucks. And now I'm even more incapable of switching into Archeops Stone Edge, which is quite tough. But what I do have going for me is that I get this regen on Kabutops. On my spread, I think the Stone Edge does like 70. So I'm just about in the clear here. So I get my regen again, and I would have just won if I'd stayed in and dodged the Stone Edge and killed it. But I've successfully regen my way out of range. And so while it has taken me not knowing a mechanic and that going to my advantage to kill the Swishavish to do it, and if that hadn't happened, then I would have got cooked this game, I have somehow just about maneuvered around this Archeops to the point that I win, because now I live the Stone Edge. That's the best thing it has to hit at Kabutops, and I still outrun the Armaldo with the Scarf, because it's not invested. But then I get crit and I die. So that's a shame. And yeah, I'm not thrilled about it, but this situation did only come about because of the Swishavish incident, so I can't complain too hard. But we move on, and now we play the jungler. And at this point, I still haven't really figured out how to build this tier. And what worsens it is that I've been getting help from the jungler the first 2 weeks, and so now I don't have my kind of main testing buddy. But what I go for this week is, instead of a grassy, like, hyper offense, I'm going with grassy as a support to things that appreciate the grassy terrain. So, like, Caracosta, it curses up in grassy terrain, it never dies, lovely. That's kind of more the idea. And then the Alephagy. Alephagy is great Tusk, but they gave it Zen mode like Darmanitan. And so I can calm mine down, become a special attacker, I get my Grassy Seed to raise my Fizz Def. I'm also Taunt, and then I just Psychic through everybody. And the sort of general idea of this team is that I have options into both extremes, because like, the Alephagy can Taunt and sort of really annoy Fat that way and force things to hit into it and bring it down into its Zen mode, while I've got the priority Grassy Glide to sort of smack any weird offenses. That was what I'm going for. And the jungler has double regen because Kabutops' cousin Omastar is also a Psychic Poison regen guy now. Ungabungus, definitely one of the best names. It's Brute Bonnet, it has neutralizing gas, it's cool. Archeops, who we are seeing a lot of, and then Yeezolt, who is Dracozolt, but it's Electric Fairy. So, I get the lead wrong, because I lead into Kabutops, who's happy, into everybody else apart from Yeezolt. And then I get U-turned on, and so I'm immediately behind. And that's going to be kind of a theme of this game. I'm just immediately on the back foot. I spin on the Armaldo, and as the jungler shows Toxic, a thing that this game has revealed to me is that being Earthquake, U-turn, Rock, Spin on Armaldo, it sounds like the best roll compression ever, but it's just so greedy, and it leaves you with this problem of you can spin, but you can't keep the rocks off on your opponent's Armaldo. And if they're Knock or Toxic, then they just beat you long term, and there's not really anything you can do about it. And so after this game, I learned if you're gonna use Kabutops Armaldo as your initial core, I strongly think you should be Spin on your Kabutops and Toxic on your Armaldo. But for now, we U-turn out into the Kabutops, and this time I'm an offensive guy. I call the Omastar, but he's maxed Spadef Assault Vest, so he takes nothing, which is quite tough. And then he shows Knock on this Omastar, and so yeah, I've lost items on 2 of my guys, and I've conceded rocks. This is really tough all round. Yeah, I have to concede that as well. I forget why. Maybe I could have just kept Caracosta in and knocked. I might have been scared of Spore, because Sleep is legal. And he goes Yeezolt, which it has First Flight, so he wouldn't have cared about an Earthquake, is why. And then Jungler makes a really aggressive move and just play roughs me down here, as I try and get cute and call a Knock into the Armaldo, which I felt like I needed to go for it, because at the moment I'm just not beating down the Armaldo, and my Armaldo is losing. And so it is kind of smart of the jungler to not let me do that. And I take the Pixie Plate, which is going to weaken the next player off. And I think a min roll I could have lived, but I get crit, so it doesn't matter. Maybe I could have tried to hang on to that and heal up on the Omastar, but it does have Scald to throw into me anyway, so it might not have done anything. Now I get U-turns, and I know I need to just... Oh no, I was going to say I just U-turn here because I know that I can't... I'm going to lose to the Armaldo, but apparently I don't know that in the moment. But I do live this, and so I get to make a suicide clear of the rocks. And then I just overpredict. I don't want to get... What was I doing there? I feel like Earth Power was relatively free, because it would have been very brave to go either of the first lights. But either way, I'm just getting got on all the turns. And so here's 5 points. A U-turn, and these turns aren't really too relevant. Oh yeah, this bit is funny. We exchange Earth Powers. I kind of do some quick head maths based on the Earth Power damage. I conclude that Bloodstream will kill, but it min-rolls, and it doesn't. I Bloodstream so that I can get enough HP to live the Life Orb hit if it's not clear. But I missed that, and this is just going from bad to worse, because Kabutops was my big threat, that if I can get it in on Armaldo on their Kabutops, I can try and make things happen still. But no. Doesn't happen. It's kind of tough. And so I go into this guy, and I go into my last hope of, but Mars! And I'm ready to calm mind up and attempt to make something happen and hopefully catch the Chungler out, because this is a quite uncommon special Great Tusk, unfortunately. Yeah. So, turns out yeah, I selected Zen mode in the builder, which is the thing you can do. But that doesn't work, because Zen mode is only supposed to activate on regular Alephagy below half health. The way the builder responds to this is to just make it a mon with 0 in all stats. So I should have outsped and calm-minded, but I don't. And, I mean, just look at the game state. I'm not going to whinge too hard, because it was clearly very heavily in the jungler's favour. I think it wasn't quite over, because the Gorgeist with Grassy Glide, high horsepower, is kind of close. If I can just get damage on the Armaldo, which I might have been able to manage with the Alephagy, although even then, you can probably waste all of my grassy turns and then go into something that I now can't priority without my grassy terrain. Yeah, I was probably cooked, but I had maybe like a 5-10% chance, but now I have a 0% chance, so that's tough, and I play it out, but it's cooked. And I just wasn't able to get the damage onto the Armaldo, and it toxics me, and then he can just keep switching about and intimidating me, and I can't kill things fast enough. And so I exchange GGs and I forfeit. But thankfully, that gets us to my favourite team that I made this tour. And so this time I'm still kind of being pivoty plus strong guy-y, but I have a bit more cohesive of a concept behind it. And that concept is rough skin spam. So I've got an Alephagy again, which after the incident last week seems brave, but this time I'm a normal one. So I'm just like a Fizdef guy with rough skin and a rocky helmet. And then I've also got a Lapras with rough skin and a rocky helmet. And so my plan is essentially make everybody impale themselves, then go into Choice Specs Salazzle Ancient Edition, who is Dark Ice, and I just kind of went, well, Ice Move plus Freeze Dry in a tier where there's not really a lot of steel because Metallurgy hasn't been invented yet. That seems cool. So I've got my pivots. This Aerodactyl is a fat one. It's max HP and speed with Wisp and U-turn, and it's just trying to be annoying and help enable the Salazzle, because it's trying to invite in the Armaldo so that you can U-turn, get Salazzle in on things like Cradily, like Kabutops, and just click lovely ice moves. They have a Draconizer, who is the other fire dragon, but it's kind of like Skeledurge's physical cousin, essentially. And it also has spikes, which is cool. Otherwise, they've got quite fat, their own Bastiodon. Cradily is Poison Heal, Water Grass in this, which sounds really cool, but it kind of sucks because it's really passive and it's taking full hazards whenever it comes in, and it has really bad full move slot syndrome. Anyway, I'm going to lead Armaldo, and I immediately just get some really nice chip onto the Bastiodon, which is nice because it's going to help open up the Salazzle a bit later. Then they go Caracosta for reasons that science will never be able to tell us. And I probably could have U-turned here, but I think I just kind of go, well, that was inexplicable, so they might just do something inexplicable again. So I just go, well, let's see if you want to give me the Caracosta, and if you are going to go Aero, I think I can just cross that bridge when we get to it. And the way I cross that bridge is by going into Lapras, because if it's offensive, if it wants to Wing Beat, then I'm going to make it take 68%, and if it Wisps, then I don't really care, and I'm going to get to knock something. For some reason, the thing I get to knock is Cradily, and having lost its Toxic Orb, Cradily is now going to do Cradly's #1 thing in Paleomons, which is give Kabutops a free entry point. And so you can see this is kind of already big advantage to Wabarat. And I'm thinking now, Assault Vest Kabutops, I need it a bit chipped so that I can kill everything with Salazzle and Freeze Dry. And so I can either make it take all the damage as it flips, or I can live a hit and take its Assault Vest and enable Salazzle more. And, I mean, that doesn't matter because it's coming back in on 97. Why is this important? I optimistically knock off, but now I'm just going to get Strength Up, sure, Kabutops back in, and you see we kind of have a bit of a repetitive sequence here. I decide to just see if they're going to give me the Cradily for no reason, which they don't. But at this point, Kabutops still has Scald, and I like staying in and getting a burn on the Kabutops because, again, I need the damage so that Freeze Dry kills through the Assault Vest, and then Salazzle becomes so much more free. And with that in mind, now I'm going to call their flip turn again and make them get low. And if they want to go Caracosta, I thought I was going to knock and take their Sludge there, but I didn't, so here's Armaldo. Probably should have knocked. But we move. And I'm then going to throw out the Toxic, because they seem to have stopped giving me all their guys for free. And so getting this damage on the Aerodactyl is going to be really nice, because it just annoys all my physical guys. If it's their Fogger, then it's going to be easier to keep rocks up. It's just nice. And I just U-turn out, because at that point, I'm kind of going, well, if you want to Wisp, and I get the initiative on you, and you take another round of Toxic, it just kind of feels fine. And I've also got the Healing Wish in the back on the Elephagy, if I really end up needing to be unstatus later. But now, because I'm on higher health and they're burnt, I just kind of go, let's try and hit you. But I don't think that would have worked, because they can just slow flip and then go back into Kabutops and regenerate her up. But for now, I'm going to just flip on their Draconizer. And do I knock or do I get my rocks? I knock, yeah. And now the rocks are going to be really annoying, which is pleasant, and so I'm going to have them. And because, do I knock again? I think I knock again. I don't. Oh yeah, I don't want to get burned on both the guys. That's That's fair, and I'm still thinking with an intact Lethargy, that can just upset their Dracomyza later. And now I'm going to take the Caracostus. It's Black Sludge. We see Trash Compactor there because the rocks are up, it heals it a million, but I can go into my Frog, so I don't care. They stay in, and because they're staying into attack, I know I can just bring them really low by giving up the Helmet on the Lethargy. And this is really nice damage because now I just have to get in the Salazzle and it's a kill every time. And they just don't really have a way to make progress as freely as I do. And we see them just kind of floundering around here, really, I'd say. And so I'll just take this thing's boots too. Frog, U-turn, Lapras. And here I reveal Rest. And the thing that's kind of funny here is, turns out, Lapras has Recover and Heal Bell. I just missed that it has Recover when I was making this team. So that's a bit of an oversight. But now we see Cradley doing Cradley things again. That's the third time that it lets Kabutops in for free this game, because it's not real. And as that forces in their Kabutops, I finally get to go into my Director Huang and just fire off a Freeze Dry, and somebody's dying. Get Freeze Dried, goodbye. Bastiodon lives now, but at this point, I'm just so far ahead, they don't really have anything they can do. It shows me Storm Surge, which I'd never seen before, which is kind of cool, but yeah, I just got things knocked, and I got my hazards, and I got stuff into Salazzle range. Salazzle could have done more, by the way. Like, Salazzle is a mon that isn't super highly rated in Paleomons, and it's definitely very flawed, but I think it's kind of okay. It's fast, it has ice and freeze dry in a tier without real ice resists. That's an issue. It needs support, it needs hazard removal, it needs a million pivots, it offers nothing defensively. I don't deny any of that, but I think fast, strong ice move, that's something. And it could have broken more, I just didn't really end up needing to use it this game. This brings us... Is the music still on? Yeah. Just in a slightly slow spot. This is going to bring us to the final week of the main season, and at this point we've already qualified, and so this game is just kind of for the hell of it. And so I go, well, I want to throw off the scout and not like give any new information. So I just decide to bring Grassy Terrain again, but I update the Grassy from week 1. So I swap out Icaruff for Nurture Raptor, who is a normal dragon, who's a bit faster, and also has Boom Burst. Just decide to try it in the same slot and see if it's better, really. And then I also get a Kabutops, who is going to boost its defense and then start Calm Minding up, and maybe Rapid Spin fast, and just be in awful pain. And then the other 4 are the same. They have a Mousegurge, who is Ghost Poison Nidoking. They have a Crobat, who is notably joint fastest thing in the tier with Aerodactyl at 130, but we'll see one of its issues in this game. They have Hemlophosor, who is a shitmon. It's Grass Poison, it Dragon Dances, but it's not good. Yeah, just kind of a normal balance from them, really, not too much to say. But they lead their Mousegurge to just upset my obvious Gorgeist, but then they kind of waste that momentum by just bouncing a Toxic off my Bastiodon, and I think I probably should have just started throwing out Petroglyphs here, but I agree to Calm Mind as they plot. And my Petro does loads now, but they're able to Grassy Terrain Giga Drain me. But from the maths, I should kill, but either the first one was a max roll or the second one was a min roll, but either way, I don't get quite the mileage out of Bastiodon that I might have liked to, and I just didn't really want to risk bringing any of my other guys in on a Moonblast, so I have to just sack, which is tough. So I go all to combat, because I don't want to go Archeops and get my rocks, but give this all of its HP back. That just seems a bit redundant. But Alter Combat can come in and revenge. But they go into their Ikaruf, who is also Grassy Seed. I wonder where they got that idea from. But I want to keep my defense boost, and you can't calc anything, and I can't switch anything into this because my Bastion's dead. So I just kind of go, this guy's not that strong. I'm quite bulky. I probably live. It has like 75 attack. I live. I acro through it. And, yeah, they don't switch in, so they give me the Armaldo. They go into Mouse Scourge, and I've already seen it's not Scarf, so I kill it. And now they go Crobat, who, again, notably, 130 speed, is faster than Alter Combat, but doesn't have anything to kill it. So it U-turns. I roost, and I thought they might, like, Toxic or something, but I could still just roost and get a couple more kills out of it. But they show me with that they have actually nothing for me. Like, they're probably something like Knock, Super Fang, U-turn, Spikes, but Roost, that kind of jazz. Things that don't kill me. And then they just forfeit. It's a good mon as Alter Combat. And yeah, it's in this weird position of the things that are faster than it, that aren't Aerodactyl, don't beat it. But then it's really hard to defensively deal with. If you want proof of that, then you can go look at my video on the other semi-final game between the Jungler and Beef Cultist. Ends up being a fairly quick and cheesy win that's just stat padding because I'm already in the... Yeah, it's just stat padding because I'm already in the semi-finals, really. But now let's get to those semi-finals, where we've got a rematch against Magialis, whatever, however you say it. Rematch against them, who are the ones that I played with the rough skin spam. And this time, the sort of pairing I have that interests me is Hazard Stack. Alephagy is a fluffy... No, not Alephagy. Brawlutra is a, like, fluffy ground guy that sets spikes. And so I'm Spikes plus Rocks Alephagy plus a spin blocker Aurorus, because outside of the quite niche spin Caracosta, it just... Like, Armaldo can't do anything, Kabutops can't do anything, you just force the hazards up and keep them up. And I'm then a sort of offensive spike stack with a fairy spam in Yeezolt, and this Gorgeist form is a fast one with Fairy Aura. Then I'm old reliable, Assault Vest Kabutops. Whereas they've got... I think this is a horrible team. They have Shivatherium, who is a rare steel type. Then they have a Sigilif, who I brought, but it didn't come out, but it's just normally, like, set up ground psychic guy. Dragonlance Tyrantrum, who is really scary. It's a Dark Dragon, it has a strong Crunch and Draconic Rend, strong jaw boosted. Cardantis, it's just a Swords Dance guy with really good stabs in Poltergeist, and I think multi-attack maybe. Ikaruf, we've seen. Kabutops, we know. Carmine setup guy. The reason I think it's a horrible team is because it's kind of just stack a load of setup guys and inshallah that one of them wins. Like, I don't feel like this team has a lot in the way of support or enabling the threats. Like, there's not screens, there's not taunt, there's not memento, there's not things like explode. It didn't feel to me like there was a lot that kind of forces lines or enables or supports the broken. It's just hope that all the broken overwhelms, in my opinion. But anyway, they lead their Shivatherium into my Yeezolt, and I didn't clock that this was a lead Shiva guy, and Yeezolt was really good into everybody else, so I just lead it for that reason. But I'm not good into this. I U-turn into the Aleph, and that's just gonna let me get my rocks. And I kind of want to knock the Cardantis, but I got to be really careful, because the Tyrantrum can just beat me. And so I really need Alephagy's ability to live a +1 hit, and so its health is really valuable. And so I'm quite lucky that on this team I happen to have two, like, really fat Fizz Def guys, because if I had the sort of same thing that needed to deal with the Cardantis and the Tyrantrum, I'd just get overwhelmed. But that works out in my favour, and here comes Icaroth, and I just flip out of there with my guy. And that's going to give me Yeezalt, which is really, really nice. And I just throw out a play rough because I know that I'll live any hit, and the Sigilif is quite likely. And I get that right. I put a lot of damage on it. And I'm going to play rough again because my view is, while I can U-turn out, the thing that I most want to have in is this Yeezalt, because the main thing they probably go into from that would be Shivatherium. And I can just U-turn on that into my Kabutops, get my spin. It feels like Yeezalt will kind of block their most threatening options to go into, as the Dino Synth just comes back on. But they reveal the Scarf and I miss the play off, which is so annoying because I hit that, now I'm just bolt beaking everyone because I come in on, like, I just get so many bolt beak opportunities if that didn't happen, and now it becomes so much less free. But I think their random Scarf Sigilif to just, like, they saw what happened with Alter Combat last week and they went, okay, we need a tech for that. I'm pretty sure that's the idea, because there's no Healing Wish on Sigilif. I sort of had a look for, does that get any weird stuff to support offense, but I couldn't find it. But really, really irritating this. Although I guess I could have just U-turned. But now I'm just going to go Aurorus, who is going to really comfortably live, even with the Spadef drop. And what do I do after that? I think I just forget that Cardantis is a thing, and with my Hyper Voice, yeah, I whiffed that. Probably should have thrown out a Draco, but we move. Yeah, I just forgot. And so I go back into you, and I'm going to knock off the Choppleberry, which is funny because it shows how scared of Alter Combat they are, that as well as the random Scarf Sigilif, they are Choppleberry on a mon that's immune to fighting, but not when it's a scrappy Alter Combat. So that's quite funny, and I'm going to live that, and it's going to kill me, but I've sort of forced it to trade down very low. I'd love to go Yeezalt, but now I'm in range of Shadow Sneak, so I can't really do that. So I'm going to just Revenge instead with the Gorgeist, and I feel like they probably should have just Shadow Sneak there if they're going to let that go. Like, I think Shadow Sneak or Shivatherium, I think, were both a lot better than them for what they ended up going for. But here comes Kabutops, who is gonna just Bloodstream. But Aurorus even getting crit, it's so nice into Kabutops, because Kabutops gets Ice Beam, but no one ever runs it, and so you can just sort of abuse that with your Aurorus. But they're gonna get their Shiver on my Recover, and I think they just Spike here? Yeah, they Spike, but I've gone into this guy, giving me the spin, and in comes Big Threat. Because I'm fast, I can flip out into my Juice Spillage, and yeah, you can see how if I hadn't been so careful with the Juice Spillage's HP, if I'd just sort of let it take a stray hit from the Cardantis, then Tyrantrum would have cooked me. It killed everybody else with nothing I could do about it, because its last moves can be Iron Head, which will get the Gorgeist. But now I can just go into my AV Kabutops as they try and Soul Wind to catch my Aurorus. Soul Wind, by the way, is randomly super effective on Ghosts, is why they do that. But I'm going to just take the opportunity to knock them. And the Calm Mind just doesn't get you anywhere because I have the Yeezalt. And at this point, I just Bolt Beak because, like, I have a full health Aurorus, so I don't care if they go Sigilif, so I don't really have any reason to get cute and play rough or U-turn. And I think at this point, they just see how behind they are and how sort of little they've got left. So I think they're just kind of going, well, maybe if he throws and U-turns randomly, I can find a kill. So I understand it, but at this point, I'm just very far ahead as they go into this Sigilith that does not deserve to be alive. Shiver lives on a bit, which is kind of whatever. And then Alephagy is gonna eat up the Mountain Gale because it is a lovely guy. And then Kabutops is gonna come in, but it just can't break past Aurorus, as I think the recover was probably a bit unnecessary from me, but I kind of have the room to because there's just so little. But what I also like about this Aurorus line is that I was a bit cognizant of if it sets up a lot, then it could get out of hand if it can rapid spin and get faster, because like then it can just kill everyone. But because I'm a ghost type, you can't spin, so even if you like somehow calm mind all the way up and crit through me and bloodstream, I can just go into the Yeezol afterwards and it's not so much of a worry because I still just outspeed and kill, as I kind of get the line a bit wrong again with a plot. But sloppy as this kind of line into the Kabutops was, it doesn't matter because Aurorus just so comfortably sits on Kabutops, especially with the mostly Spadef set that I'm running. And then another Psychic is going to bounce off, and Aurorus is going to kill it. And from the get-go, Aurorus looked like it had a pretty horrible matchup into Tyrantrum, into Cardantis, into Shivatherium, but into Soulwind Guy as well. But then all of them died, and Aurorus soloed the final two. And so I was, really happy with how the prep hit there. Also, kind of just disliked their team. Sadly, we lost the semi-final, even with my win. So that is where my season ends. But I enjoyed playing Paleomons a lot, and I hope you've enjoyed this autism dump about it. We are at an hour, so I'd be surprised if you didn't enjoy it if you're still here. But it's a really enjoyable set. It took a bit for me to kind of get to grips with, figure out what's good, what's not, and what worked, but it felt like by the end I had a fairly reasonable read on it, and there's always a lot of room for experimentation in these kinds of small metas that not a lot of people play, and I felt like I did invent a few things. Like we saw grassy terrain a decent few times after me. I wasn't the first to use Aurorus, but I feel like the Chunga and I have kind of showed how effective it can be. The other idea that I had for this week that I didn't get to use was a kind of fatter spike stack with Aurorus and knock spam and some pivoting and just taking advantage of how effectively Aurorus can spin block in that kind of way. And it does also get agility, which is quite funny, and it resists like all the priority other than Unga Bunga's Sucker Punch, but something like an agility, even weakness policy, because it lives hits, plot stabs, seems like it could be quite funny. Maybe if someone figured out how to make screens work. But yeah, Aurorus is unexplored. Quite a lot of things are unexplored because there haven't been that many games of it. Alter Combat is a really good guy. Aerodactyl is nice because it's a faster thing that actually stops Alter Combat because you Speedy Wisp it. Some other miscellaneous thoughts floating about, but I enjoyed this a lot, and I'm going to try and cover the final game in the final, and I'm hoping for a draw so that we can have a tiebreak, so that we can have one more Paleomons game. And Quinn asked me to have a reference to The Land Before Time somewhere in this, so I'm gonna go to the Great Valley now, aka go to bed because it's quite late. Thanks for watching, bye.